What's going on, guys? YodaMan86 here. Today we're going to be going over 7 common reasons why a car isn't starting or is cranking over slow. The number one reason is a dead or weak battery. Typically when you have a dead or weak battery, your headlights will be dim or your inside lights will be dim. Another telltale sign is you'll turn the key and it will just do nothing or maybe make a click. Another one too is it will crank really slow like this. To test to make sure you actually have a dead battery, you can use a multimeter. To use a multimeter, you put it in this setting here, which is DC for direct current. You hook your positive to your positive and your negative to your negative. And the battery should read between 12.6 and 12.8. As you can see, this one is reading 11.71 to 7.3, which means that it's bad. Your battery will also have a date on it somewhere. As you can see on mine, it says 10 of 19. Batteries normally have a 3 to 5 year lifespan. So this one being 5 years old, it's about due for replacement. If you don't have a multimeter, you can go to Advanced Auto or AutoZone and they'll check your battery for you. To get your car started and get there, you can either use a Halo lithium battery bank. It has a jump start button on it. You just connect your positive to your positive and your negative to your negative, and it will start your car. You can also use a set of jumper cables. To do this on your battery, you take the positive to positive and negative to negative, and then you hook it to another car, to the positive to positive and negative to negative, and you have the other person rev the car to about 1500 RPMs for about 10 to 20 seconds, and then you can start your car. Once you get your car started, hook a multimeter up to the battery. It should be reading between 13.8 and 14.5. It may read a little bit higher since the battery was low on charge and the alternator is working harder to charge it. If it is lower than 13.8, your alternator is probably bad and it will need replaced. If you went to advanced and your battery tested out good, or if it was just fine to begin with, here is the next step you can try. If your battery's terminals look like this and they have a lot of corrosion buildup, just like this blue stuff down here, you're going to want to clean them. And to do that, you want to move that nut and the nut on the positive. Be righty tighty, lefty loosey. For me, it was a size 13. After you get the nuts loose, you can either take a screwdriver or something in between here, just spread it apart, or you can grab it and twist it, and then it will come off, like so. It's like that. You want to make sure that when you do that, that your positive doesn't touch your negative, or vice versa, or nothing goes from the negative to the positive on the battery, because it will create sparks and it can short something out. Now to clean the terminals, you can use a wire brush or some sandpaper, or they make this handy tool called a battery terminal cleaner brush. It has brushes on this side and then brushes on that side. Now to clean the terminal post, just put it down over top and spin them, and it gets it all nice and clean. And you want to do that for both sides. And for those, you just take this part and go down in and just spin it, get it nice and clean in there. You want to do that to the positive and the negative. Once you get the terminals clean and the connectors, then you want to go over these parts here where these positive wires connect. And you want to sand those real good, the connections, after you take them apart, on the positive and the negative. And then you take dielectric grease. You can get it either in a small tube or a big tube, and anything that you just cleaned, you want to put a light film of this over top so then it doesn't corrode again on you. After you get your battery terminals all cleaned up and greased, reinstall and try to start the car. If it doesn't start, then move on to this next step. In this next step, you're going to want to remove your battery terminals again. Move them off to the side. Make sure they don't touch. Okay, then you're going to want to go over all your grounds. You can see this wire here. It runs to the side of the fender well and it's bolted on. You're going to want to clean that up good with some sandpaper and then apply some dielectric grease when you rebolt it on. Then there will normally be another one running from your terminal, and it goes down to the side of the engine block. Right there, you're going to want to clean all the oil off of it, sand it good, apply dielectric grease, and rebolt it on. And then there's another one normally on the back behind the motor. It's right there, and then that runs down to the side of the block right there. It's kind of hard to see. You're going to want to clean those up, apply some dielectric grease, and then reapply them. Then after you do that, hook your battery terminals back up and try to start it again. If it doesn't start, then move on to this next step. This next step, you're going to want to remove your battery terminals again and figure out where your starter is located. Normally it's located somewhere near the transmission. Once you've located your starter, it's going to look something like this. You have a thing on the side here that's called a solenoid. The positive from your battery hooks to it, and then the signal wire from your key hooks to it as well. You're going to want to make sure to get those nice and clean and dielectric grease them. Also, you're going to want to probably take the starter off and make sure it's clean where it mounts, because that acts as a ground for the starter. Common symptoms of a starter issue is just a click and no start, or a winding sound. In order to see if it is a starter that's bad, you can try hitting it with a hammer or a wrench to get it broke free, and then it will at least get you started to go and be able to get a new starter. Another reason a car may not start is the fuel pump. Normally when a fuel pump goes bad, the car will just crank, but it won't start. In order to check this, get somebody else to help you and sit in the driver's seat. When you're ready and you found the gas tank, which is where the fuel pump's located, you'll tell them now, and they'll flip the key to turn on the fuel pump, and it will sound something like this. If you heard the fuel pump kick on, you know that it's good and that's not the issue. Now it's time to move on to the next step. The last common issue is the fuel filter. If you heard your fuel pump kick on and you know that's not it, the fuel filter could be clogged and it could be restricting fuel to go to your engine. It will have the same effect by just cranking over and not starting. To check this, you can remove it and just replace it, or you'll go up by the motor and look at this. Once you're up in your engine compartment, you will look for something called a fuel rail. Once you find it, it will look something like this, and there will be a valve on it. If the fuel filter is clogged, when you press this little valve in here, no fuel will come out, and that's how you know it is clogged and needs replaced. And that's 7 common reasons why your car isn't starting and is turning over slow. Like, comment, subscribe.